We're talking about the influencers that met with Netanyahu. Tim Pool is one of them, and he confirms himself that he took part in what was supposed to be, as he says, a private roundtable meeting with Netanyahu and other influencers. And then he explains why he can say some of it, but not the rest of it. Here's Tim Pool discussing his apparently a private meeting with war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu.
Here, I got late word that I was invited to a private roundtable meeting with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. It was under what's called Chatham House rules. For those that are not familiar, this means that you cannot reveal anybody who attended, nor attribute anything to any one individual, as they can deny it, and they would. However, what I love about what the White House is currently doing, when you bring together a bunch of influencers and podcasters who don't know much about journalism culture, whatever you want to call it, not that we respect it tremendously, most people didn't know what Chatham House meant. So with all due respect, it's funny because they bring us into the Blair House, which is where Netanyahu was staying. And immediately people are walking around with their cameras, their phones up. They actually took our phones from us. And I legit thought they would maintain Chatham House rules, meaning you can't quote the prime minister, you can't quote his officials and the other people who were there, but you can report what was said generally. If you wanted an official quote on a specific matter, you would then ask an official once the meeting was wrapped, and they'd provide you the exact quote. Or they would just say outright, like, we ain't putting our quotes on that one.
So he's telling you what the rules are, and he's following the rules, but he's kind of boasting and bragging about this meeting with no regard to what reaction you're going to get from us. He's not saying, well, why do you think he asked you for this meeting? We don't have to hear the details to know why we think you had the meeting. He's trying to align a narrative with people that are, as we say, influencers. You're an influencer, Tim Pool. You can highly influence, and there's a way that there's a courting process that happens, and you're a fool to fall for that. Tim Pool is a fool to fall for this, and then brag about it after, as if, oh, I'm playing by the rules. I told you guys, I know what this Chatham House rules, and I'm following the rules, but the other influencers at the table, they might not know so well, and they were getting their cell phones out. Ha ha ha. So you're telling the part of the story where people aren't used to doing this. They don't know all the little secret Israel inside the club. As Robert De Niro said in Meet the Parents, you're either in the circle or you're outside the circle, and once you're in this or once you're outside the circle, so there's these rules to be in the circle. So you think that's the story. That's not the story. We don't care that other influencers didn't know any better about Chatham House rules. We care that you took the meeting at all, and we care that you don't seem to be aware of what that means, how we're looking at you at this point. We can't take anything you say seriously. Not that we did before, but you're just saying it out loud. I'm a sucker. I took the meeting, and now I'm a pawn. Literally out loud, a pawn for Netanyahu. So anything we suspected before, you're just confirming it on your own, and you don't even know that's the thing you're supposed to be talking about. You're not even aware of that, which is pretty sad. He's not the only one. Let's look at Dave Rubin. Similar situation. He also gloated about this being at a meeting. I don't know if it was exactly the same meeting because we aren't confirmed on that, but he definitely, as an influencer, Dave Rubin, thought it was cool to tweet this out, that he had an incredible few hours with Netanyahu on Monday. He took many difficult questions. Oh, really? What questions were those? Talking about the deep state, blah, 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 Putin, blah, blah, blah. Couple of jokes. Oh, he's a funny guy. Oh, so he's not that war criminal you guys think he is. He's actually a guy that likes to tell jokes, because war criminals don't have a sense of humor. No, actually, I think it's quite the opposite. I think war criminals are more likely to have a sense of humor, because that's how they can amuse themselves with jokes about all the horrible shit they're doing. I'm sure they're not doom and gloom all day. I think that doesn't. So okay, he told some jokes, Dave Rubin, and then this person who said he was blocked by Dave Rubin, 7 C's. He posted the photo of the known genocider Benjamin Netanyahu. And then, of course, 7 C's, there's a reason he was blocked, because he's outing Dave Rubin as somebody who's funded by 775 Coffee, that he's been alongside Steven Crowder, Russell Brand, who we know his history and his compromise, and that he's been actually charged now with these multiple counts of actual rape. Donald Trump Jr. is in there. And then he mentions that 1775 Coffee is housed under the Colson Capital umbrella, owned by Foster Colson, who has been on the show with us before he really blew up. I mean, the guy's a wealthy mother effer. He started the wellness company, but as a lot of people said in the medical freedom movement, he got captured. So here he is in this whole room of captured people. So I mean, that's what you're saying when you tweet this stuff out, or you go on your show and you brag about these meetings, and you're totally sold out. You're totally sold out. So why is this important that we talk about this right now? Because I know a lot of us already knew these people were sold out. We've been talking about Russell Brand. We've been talking about these people. We've been talking about even people that are, it's harder to see, and we have to do a little more investigation on, like Ian Carroll. And there's like, we've had, honest discussions about that, and like how far, if you're getting all these overnight followers, what does that mean? Who's backing you? And we're having these honest discussions. But when these two people come out, when Tim Pool and Dave Rubin come right out and tell you, I'm a sold out puppet for Netanyahu and I have no shame about it, then you've done our homework for us. We don't have to do any more research with you guys. You two have exposed yourself. I'm going to remind you guys, and this is important. Let's keep some historical context. When we go back in time, just a couple years ago, when Biden, you remember Biden, senile Biden? Do you guys remember when Biden had to call on the influencer, get on the bat phone, call on the influencers, get them all here to the White House, all the TikTokers, they have all this influence, all the young people. We got to get the young vote. Got to get the young vote out, when Biden still thought he was going to be on the head of the ticket. Remember that? So there's a different outcome when that happened. There were influencers. Yes, there were influencers that showed up to the White House. We saw footage of it. Awkward shit that they had to do, sit there, laugh and joke with Kamala, and do all these things to their, when they hold up their phone, they do their little check-ins with their millions of followers, and they tell them things about why they're excited about the Democrats. All of that they were paid for. It was staged. And the reason we know this one for sure is kind of the opposite reason we know about Tim Pool and Dave Rubin. Tim Pool and Dave Rubin are telling us they took the meetings and they're bragging about it. We saw a lot of TikTok influencers who, these are young people, young girls in some situations, that didn't take the meeting or said, you know what, that isn't cool. I'm going to say, not only am I going to say no to your dumbass request, if you want to buy me off and my influencers and have me lie on your behalf of the Democratic Party, well, not only am I going to say no, I'm going to go on different shows and my people, I'm going to tell them what you did. So this shows me that some of these TikTokers not all of them did, a lot of them took the meetings and did the thing they were paid to do. But we saw a lot of this happening. So I'm going to remind you, this TikToker influence, this was just one of them. There's a lot of them that did this. Farah Khalidi, she's a TikTok influencer, and she tells us exactly what happened when she went in there and the Biden administration wanted her to do these things. She's telling us how horrible Biden and the White House at the time was for doing this. Here we go.
And then, TikTok was basically full-time for me. I think I was taking ads by the time I graduated college from like the Biden administration and Planned Parenthood and like dating apps and stuff. So it was like fully financially, sustaining.
So you were getting, the Biden administration was buying ads from you?
Yeah, I was doing full-on political propaganda.
And they would really, with like what kind of, like, Biden created 10 million jobs this year?
Yeah.
Okay, so she did take the money, and then she's saying, I did full-on propaganda. I mean, that, to have the courage to say that, that's cool. I mean, you're not going to get that from a Tim Pool or a Dave Rubin. You're just not going to you're not going to say, I'm doing full-on propaganda for Netanyahu. Or you're not going to fast forward to next year or the year after and say, yeah, you remember that time I did the thing? Yeah, that was the whole point of the meeting, was to align me with the message of Israel so we can continue doing genocide. That was the reason. And then I did the thing. And then I checked the boxes and I gloated about it. And here we are. So she's talking after the fact. Yes, I did this. I was a paid propagandist by the Biden administration.
honestly, and the funny thing is, they're like, do not disclose this is an ad, because, you know, they're like, technically it's not a product, so you don't have to disclose it's an ad. Because I think they just wanted like some edgy girl of color to just tell people, like, when they nominated like Ketanji Brown Jackson, they're like, can you say, like, as a person of color, you know, that you feel reflected? And it's like a white woman emailing this to me, and she's like giving me this script, and I'm like, no. And she's like, please. And I'm like, no, I'll like talk about the news of it, but I'm not gonna be like, I'm not gonna have a white person tell me to be like, you know, this is how I feel as a person of color. Like, it's just so, I think that black pilled me.
Okay, so that was her breaking point. Is you're not, look, I'll take the pay, I'll sell out, I'll promote the thing or the event, and I'll mention the thing, and then you pay me, but I'm not gonna say it in the way you want me to say it that compromises who I am. So she put the brakes on. That's what it looks like that happened there with this girl. So are we gonna see any of that from these influencers that are in literally in the pockets, totally sold out to Netanyahu, and are bragging about it? Like, no worries at all. This is what I do. You think you're just meeting a secret meeting? Tim Pool, you're literally telling us about a secret meeting with all these rules, and you don't understand what that tells us. We don't have to do the work anymore. We don't have to do any more investigation on you. You are exposing yourself. It's as clear as day. You're a total sellout. There's nothing else we would ever want to hear out of your mouth from this point on, unless it's, I'm sorry, I effed up. This was a low point for me. Please forgive me, guys. I will never take a meeting like that ever again. Not from a psychopathic dictator, warmongering, war criminal, child killer, genocider, narcissistic piece of S like Netanyahu.